So, welcome everyone to Recovery, the Whole Enchilada podcast. I'm Peg McDermott with my co host.
Heather Hageman.
Hello, Heather. How are you, my dear?
Season's greetings to you, my friend.
Yes,
I'm doing
season's
well.
greetings. How did it get here so fast? Anyway, welcome to our podcast. And we're dedicated to exploring the layers of healing and transformation within the recovery community and with individuals seeking growth and fulfillment. And today we want to talk about the holidays that are approaching. Right now, it's the week before Thanksgiving, right?
Yeah.
And Heather and I were talking about this time of year and how it can be challenging for those of us in recovery. And we thought it makes sense to do a podcast on that. So here we are. So what are your thoughts around the holidays in the recovery community? And what have you done when you were active? And how have you changed your holiday strategy to maintain your emotional sobriety, Heather?
It's a good question and a good thing to ponder because I had what I thought was a really good formula when I was drinking. I would get everything done ahead of time and so that I could drink. That was sort of my plan. So I'd have everything ready to go. I'd have all the presents wrapped and shopping done and everything under the tree. And then I could just sit back and enjoy. And it never worked out quite well because I can remember one time I was drinking on Christmas Day and I was trying to fix a bulb and I guess I lost my balance and I fell in the tree. The tree fell over on me and the kids were going, "Dad, Plum's under the tree." And I say that and kind of laugh and go shake my head because wow, that's the kind of crazy behavior I had. And always I wanted it to be magical and wonderful. And my drinking got in the way of that. And I acted out in a way that was unkind or ridiculous, like knocking a tree over, getting upset because one of the kids put a bulb on the tree and it broke. I mean, flipping out over that. I just look back and I'm just so sad that I was just not a very balanced, even keeled human back then. And so my amends has always been to make the holidays so enjoyable and so peaceful now.
Mm-hmm. What was it like growing up, your holidays?
I can followed suit with my mother. She did the same thing. Apple didn't fall far from the tree. She was like that too. She'd have everything organized. She'd give such wonderful presents, but it was so confusing because her behavior was so not healthy, not kind. And I always remember her never liking the Christmas gifts we got her, or my dad got her. And so there was always that tension. And so, yeah, I mean, I kind of did the same thing in my own way. And I'm sorry that I didn't know any better. And I always give myself grace because I didn't know any better. And now I do. How about you? How was it for you?
You know, my mom really tried to make Christmas special for Tim and I, my brother and I. And for the most part, it was. We knew how much she was struggling to make ends meet. And I remember one Christmas, I don't even know how old I was, maybe 10. And it was Christmas morning, and there weren't any presents under the tree. And my mom said, "Listen, Santa was here, but he couldn't get in, so he left all the presents in the car. We're going to go out and get them now." And I said, "Awesome." And I think that was when I knew that, well, I finally accepted the notion that there was no Santa Claus. But what I loved was how she worked so hard to make it special for us. And we would actually, as a rule, as we got older, we started opening our presents on Christmas Eve. And then the next day we would have Christmas dinner at my grandmother's and enjoy family time. And that was really how I experienced it growing up. I didn't really experience a lot of dysfunction around the holidays. I created my own dysfunction because as I got into my own drinking career, that's when I drank the heaviest, was around the holidays. It was everywhere. I mean, there were parties, there was candy filled with liquor, there was everything. It was like people were bringing in booze left and right. And that was when I drank the heaviest. And I got sober in January after a particularly heavy drinking holiday for me. As far as self-care through that, I really wanted it to be, I think I had this fantasy that it was supposed to be this like perfect picture. I had this perfect picture frame, and it never quite worked out that way. And it never does, really. Nothing's meant to be perfect. What I had in my mind anyway, and what I envisioned a holiday should be, and this is when I was older, and this is when I drank the heaviest. And I drank the heaviest around the holidays because more booze was available. I didn't get sad or depressed around the holidays. I just drank more because there was more available, and I liked it. And between the parties and the dinners and family gatherings and going out with friends, we drank all the time from Thanksgiving right through to New Year's. And now when I get to the holidays, I find myself missing drinking the most this time of year. And I'm not drinking today, and I have no desire to drink today. And I'm especially vigilant around protecting my sobriety this time of year. If I do accept an invitation, I really like to go when there are other people that are also non-drinkers that are in recovery. There have been parties I've gone to that where there are normal drinkers, but I'm very careful about having one drink in hand and keeping that glass in my hand the entire time. And I get my own soda or my own sparkling water or sparkling cider myself. I don't let anybody else get me a drink. And I don't think anyone would do anything maliciously, but you just don't want to take any chances, right? I remember going in, I was working for an ad agency, and ad agencies, they party around the holidays. And I went into the kitchen, and the kitchen was just full of gift baskets and this and that and just everywhere. And I was sober at the time, and I picked up a piece of candy, right? And I put it in my mouth and I bit into it. And what came out was, I think, what was that drink that was orange? Well, it was liquor.
Yeah.
And I spit there were two people in the kitchen, I think, at the same time, and I spit it across the room, and I rinsed my mouth out, and they're looking at me like I am very odd. And I'm sure it was very odd behavior to them, but for me, it was like, this is poison. It was a surprise, and it frightened me. And so I'm especially vigilant this time of year.
I remember as I was had my, and this is the thing that I just wanted to mention is the first year's not easy. We have all the firsts to go through, and a first Thanksgiving and our first Christmas and New Year's and all those things that were big celebratory experiences with alcohol. I was given these suggestions: just always take yourself, be the one to drive yourself to where you're going. Walk in with your drink, because you just never know. Like in your situation there that you just said, you just never know what you're going to get going there. So
Right.
walk in with and have it in hand. And I'll tell you, this was very wise advice that I forgot as the years went on. When I went to a neighborhood party down the street, and we didn't walk in with water bottle in my hand, and I was greeted by the owner of the place that we're going to, and he handed a drink right in my hand. It was some kind of old fashioned or something. I smelled it. It was whiskey, something with cherries. And my husband, bless him, was with me, and I held the drink. I didn't do anything. I said, "Oh, thank you." And then he and I just kind of did a little walk around, and he took the drink out of my hand and went into the kitchen and found me something else to drink. Now, I'll tell you something very important here. That man watched me do that. he watched us do that. And so he came up to me and he said directly to my face, "So you don't drink?"
Hmm.
And I want you to know, when people are very interested in your drinking, usually they're saying something to you like they have some kind of issues with drinking, probably with themselves. Okay. Put that out there. And I knew that. So I thought, I'm just going to say it as it is. No, I don't drink because I'm an alcoholic in recovery. And that's probably the first time I ever said that like that to another human being out of the, just not in my world. And he just was like, "Oh, okay," and walked away and never bothered me again. So sometimes it's good to be able to say that. Sometimes you could say, "Oh, no, which I would say, like, I'm on antibiotics, I can't have a drink." I would say things to just make excuses so I could fit in.
Mm,
I don't do that anymore,
mm,
but I'm just saying you do what you can do in the moment where you are with that. But I think that was very interesting. So that just is another reasoning. Bring your drink in your hand as you're walking in the door.
mhm,
That could be helpful just for that kind of protection. Know that you have the right and the choice to leave anytime if things start to get. I notice in some parties I'd go to in the world, civilian world, we'll kind of call it jokingly, but the world where there's social drinking, maybe abusive drinking, probably. And I've been in those situations. And in the beginning, it's great. We're all eating food, we're all talking, but then I'm noticing the octave of the voice going up and people are talking louder. And I'm getting that I'm actually feeling kind of dizzy energetically from people, and I'm realizing, oh, it's time to go.
mm.
They can carry on. I'm going to go. So just have that as always, like you have that choice to leave. You have to protect what, not only your sobriety, but your emotional sobriety. And we were talking a little bit about that before we got on this talk, this emotional sobriety thing. That is what we really have to work on a lot during this time period, not to let ourselves get resentful. I do know I always had a resentful self, and I'm gonna be totally honest about this. Because I can't drink, I started going to parties and eating all the sugar that was there in the party. Did you ever do anything like that?
Oh, yeah. Lots and
So
lots of cookies.
yes. So I'm eating the sugar they're drinking, and I'm we could do a whole thing on sugar, but that's just another slower way of aging you and causing the stress to the body. Okay. So let's just say that we eliminate the things that are going to kill us fast, alcohol, but sugar is going to do a slower job. I think we can always have a little bit of something, but when I'm massively eating, yeah, a lot like that in a party, because I want to feel like I have something still. It's not, I've stopped doing that now, but that took many years to get to that place.
Right.
Um, so yes, these are some of the things that the safety things I want to talk about. You can also do a bookending of a party that might be triggering you to want to drink, have cravings, is that you can always like step out of the party and or before you go, talk to your sponsor, call the sponsor after the party or call somebody in the program after the party. Because that also saved me in a situation that I had. I want you to know, not only am I an alcoholic, but I was severely codependent and a people pleaser. I didn't know that until I let go of the alcohol. So I always let Christmas be planned by people in my family. So we had to do Christmas Eve at my husband's house with his siblings and family, and we did Christmas morning day with my parents. And I had no choice. I thought I had no choice. But what started to happen getting in recovery and protecting my emotional sobriety, that Christmas Eve dinner had to go. And because what I witnessed there, which makes me really sad to share this, is that the children were waiting patiently to open up presents on Christmas Eve, but the adults were so in their drinking that that wouldn't even happen till 9 o'clock at night. You got little kids that are crying, that are wanting to go to sleep, that are waiting for the adults. And this is what I started to see now that I'm not
Yeah.
in that doing that anymore. And that Christmas that I was first time sober at and saw what was going on, I said to myself, I'm never doing this again. I'm not taking my children here again. Sorry it took so long. My daughter was 9, my son was 5, but I'm sorry it took so long, but it came when it came. And we never did go back again. I changed that.
Good.
And people were not happy. And that particular night I said, please just send me a message as to why I'm not supposed to be here. And I asked my mother-in-law's boyfriend, can we open presents? And he yelled at me in front of the whole room, we will open the presents when we're ready to open the present. And I bless me,
Oops.
did not fight. I walked out of the party outside and I called my sponsor,
Mm.
who then said, "You do not have to do this ever again. And note and make a note to yourself, and you will be able to get through the evening." And boy, was she right. And that's kind of a lot what I have to do in life. I make a note to self, this is not working. I'm not going to do this again. And I don't do it again. Once is like, okay, I get it. But if I keep doing it again, then that's not right. So anyway, I learned from that experience.
That's a great story, and good for you for not
Thank you.
engaging, right?
Yeah.
Because that was probably a ploy to get a response from you or to control the
Yeah.
situation so they could continue drinking. I wasn't there, but that's what I'm assuming. I know for me, if I'm invited somewhere, I do want to know who's going to be there, but I don't normally go to parties where recovery people aren't the main attraction for me. And it just doesn't, I don't feel comfortable around alcohol. There are a lot of normal drinkers out there. God bless them, really. And I'm not one of them, and I never will be, especially around the holidays. And so I gave myself permission to leave if I needed to. So I had an exit plan. And my plan around any drinking activity was to let my sponsor know ahead of time, this is where I'm going, and this is what's going to be going on. And she would always say, you don't have to go if you don't want to. And I said, well, I need to give myself permission to leave. And I'll stay for a certain amount of time. I'll have my own drink in hand. And when I start seeing those getting a little tipsy, and like you said, the voice is getting louder, that's my time to go. And if I have a plan, Heather, where I'm calling my sponsor or other folks in recovery, letting them know that this is where I'm going to be. And then I talk to them afterwards and I give myself permission to leave early if I want to. So I have an exit plan. I drive myself there. I don't ride with anyone else. And that has helped me stay safe in a situation where there's a lot of alcohol. And there aren't many that I go to, but around this time of year, those are plentiful. And then there are those of us that have family events that they really can't get out of. And that can be very triggering. It doesn't even have to be alcohol related. It can be behaviorally related, where we're treated as we've been treated, which is usually not very kind. And so we're going in with all these new tools in what has been a situation, an old pattern. And we're going in with these tools and we're disrupting the pattern. And a lot of family members really don't like that. And I had to go in knowing there were going to be people that weren't going to be happy with my not participating as I had in the past, like what you had done, where I wouldn't engage in an argument. I'd leave early. Wouldn't stay as long as I used to. And that was uncomfortable at first. But my sobriety and my emotional sobriety and physical sobriety was more important than anyone's bruised ego, I guess. And I wouldn't treat anyone unkind. I was probably more abrupt than I am now when I first got sober, because I just felt like I had a lot of friends that drank a lot. And so they were kind of surprised when I stopped and they asked me, you don't drink anymore? And I said, I don't. And I ended up having to get some new friends. And it wasn't because we didn't care for one another. It was just, we just didn't share that activity anymore. And that was our primary activity. And so I think having a plan before, during, and after, and I like what you had shared about calling your sponsor after the fact. I would call her before and after. And I would gauge, what's the safety level in this space right now? How do I feel? Being very conscious of how I'm feeling at any given time and the energy around me, and always having permission to leave early if I wanted to. So that helped me to stay safe. That structure helped me to feel safe.
Now, And the other thing too, in that conversation with a recovery person before an event, is to be reminded that we're not going there. It's not about drinking. We're going there to meet people, to be with other human beings. I used to be like, I wouldn't even think about the people who were there. I'd be thinking about how much alcohol was there and that kind of thing. And now it's like, now I got to go and set an intention to be of service to other people and just listen to other people. You probably never even listened to people before, and now start to listen. So I did approach it differently, these kind of things, these kind of gatherings. But you said something that's really important, that we have these family gatherings that in the beginning, we might think that we have to still go to them, but if they continue to not be supportive and unkind to us, we have a choice to not go to them anymore. And I want you to know, I see a lot of people in recovery do that. And to me, they're practicing the highest self-care, right?
Mm.
And the other thing that you mentioned here is just this idea that we can make the best of it. We can go and briefly show up and be there and smile and be kind. And then we can just humbly leave when we want to, like we mentioned.
Mm.
And then go to a meeting, an Alcathon
Mm.
meeting,
Yeah.
where you find that out. You can, it's usually being said in meetings, but you can also look on the website. But I would leave and I would go to a all-nighter meeting. On the even hour, there was a meeting, and then there was food, and it went all night long for people on Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve. And that was so much fun because we would gather and everybody would talk about how crazy their families are. And we would laugh. We just go, we're not alone. And so keeping that connection. And I just heard there's another Alcathon here again too in St. Timothy's and Herndon. So I'm just saying that they're available. Most cities, most places have them.
Mhm.
Look for them. There, as you walk in, you feel loved. Everybody's got every kind of food there that you want, though. Talk about a food smorgasbord. It's unbelievable.
Mhm.
But that's another way to bookend your night too. Be around people who just have done that too, been around people that, and I'm sorry to say this, but when I started saying I'm not drinking anymore, the response I got from family members was, "Oh, you're going to be so boring now." Like, "Oh, you're going to be no fun." Can you believe that? I mean,
Oh,
that's the kind of response.
I can believe it.
And then I would just go, "Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I'm still fun, but we'll see." Especially after you said that. Now I'm going to get resentful. I'm just kidding. But
I I did I was actually worried about that myself, like, I don't think I'm gonna be nearly as interesting sober, and I found that to be not the case, and those that had said that initially, it was like, "Yeah, I'm not gonna be the mean you're not gonna get several different personalities like you used to get when I drank. You're gonna get the real loving me." And I like that version of myself a lot better as well. And I found there's a lot less drama because I'm really careful where I participate in terms of time and energy around the holidays. I don't have to say yes. No is a complete sentence. And there'll be invitations and we can't do it all, right? So we pick those events that feel really good and they're sober. And the Alcathons are a blast. I'm really glad you brought that up because there are several in our area, but I think they're everywhere. You just have to look for them. And a lot of the times they're shared at meetings and with other people in recovery, where they'll be, what time they start. You can even sign up for service positions. So that's been a big safety net for a lot of folks, especially people that are new, mm, that need to feel that. I know when I was new, and today it's still the case for me. I need to have other people in recovery around me, and they don't have to say a word, but the energy is enough to make me feel like I'm home and I'm safe with these people. And that feels so authentic to me. And that's been my experience in recovery anyways, really uncovering that authenticity. And that's what you get in the rooms. You get and outside of the rooms with people in recovery, this authenticity that is kind of rare today. So we're lucky to have the tools and the people and the heart to heart that isn't always accepted in the outside world, if you will. And we have to live in the outside world, I get it, but we can bring our tools to it as well. We can help those that are struggling, especially around the holidays.
It's really fascinating, though, to be in groups and what people talk about. Our groups are so, like you said, our masks are off. We're rigorously honest. We're really sharing from the deep heart space. And then you go out into these other kinds of groups out there, and there's mass and superficialness, and people are talking about no judgment here. They're dogs, they're food. It's just interesting. It's fascinating. And I kind of like it because it's light, and I go, gosh, I live such a heavy life. It's nice to have light thoughts. I wish I could always have light thoughts like this.
Exactly.
But but I want to be light, and I want to be fun, and I want to be part of the world. And I just remember when I finally gave up, when I finally stopped doing what I thought I was supposed to be doing. And when you have kids, got to bring the kids to be around the family, and you have that that loyalty, that feeling that you've got to do that. And when I stopped doing that, I said, now let's do what we want to do. And I realized they didn't know what they want to do, but my inner child wanted to go to a live manger scene with live animals and a live Mary and Jesus. And so I found one. I remember the first Christmas I had that was like our Christmas to do. And I'm driving out to Sterling, and I following these signs. There's supposedly this manger thing. And we get out there, and I guess it was over, but there was one sheep that was attached to a post where the manger was. I go, well, here's our manger scene. There was nobody there. It was just hilarious. I just think I think you've got to make your own magic, and you've got to
Yeah.
find your own joy and figure out what's fun and make your own rituals with with your family. If you have family that's toxic and then if you're doing it under obligation, I'm going to give you permission. Say no, thank you. You can come over another time, but I'm not going to go spend my Christmas morning with you or my Christmas Eve. I really wanted to have my own rituals, and they started later because I didn't know how to do it. And then when I got sober, I created our own
Mm.
family times together, and I'm so grateful I got to do that. It was, yes.
And it was authentically you. It wasn't something that was passed down, these rituals that maybe don't fit anymore. You were able to create your own. And I'm sure the family loved it.
Yeah,
I know mine,
definitely.
my, I don't have children. I have the four-legged variety, and they're always happy. But I found that this time of year, with all of the commercialism on online and on television, and it feels very one-dimensional. And I found since I've gotten sober that I've been able to connect with that deeper spiritual level of this time of year as well. It's a quiet connection to this sweet spiritual energy that's going on this time of year that I think really gets buried by all the commercialism. And when we go out, and I like to see the Christmas lights and walk through a Christmas village, and that's fun. And have hot chocolate, and maybe it's snowing, which would be a bonus for me because I love snow. And really enjoying that moment and not wondering, when am I going to be able to start drinking? When am I going to be able to go to that party? Just really immersed in that Christmas spirit and our holiday spirit. So, yeah, I really find there's a deeper appreciation now for the holidays. that I didn't have before. And that really isn't about presence. And for me, it's been about being present around people that I love and enjoying the season.
I know, and that's when the early recovery, whatever wherever you are and I was at a meeting and one of recently, and a woman said, "Hey, I'm having my annual December 15th white elephant party. Here's a flyer. Everybody's welcome." It those are kind of scary things to do when you're newly sober, but I encourage all of you to say yes to that and go to a party of people in recovery, because I'll tell you what, I thought so at first I thought I must be a shy person because I was really a loud person when I was drinking, and then when I stopped drinking I became very quiet. I thought, well, maybe I was inherently a shy person. But then when I started going to these parties and you start, "Hi, how are you?" Blah blah blah. Then everybody starts talking, and then before you start getting used to not having a drink in your hand, you start to talk, and you start to really have great conversations, and people start laughing, and then we sound like our voices get louder and louder, and and it's from the sugar, but I'm just kidding. But we are really like having a blast, and you wouldn't even know the difference.
Right.
The difference is we don't wake up with a hangover the next day and have to worry about driving, and it's beautiful. And so I really encourage you to all go to a meeting where there isn't any alcohol at it, or a meeting, a party,
Mhm.
and experiment with that for the first time. If you haven't done that, try not to have contempt prior to investigation. We say try to go with an open mind and just see what it feels like. Because I think I missed that because I started drinking so early. I missed learning how to have social skills as a sober person, and I only could do it with a drink. So I had to relearn these skills, or not even relearn, learn them the first time.
Right.
So we get to practice with other people that feel the same way you do.
Right.
So it's perfect. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would echo what you said about it, especially those that are early in recovery. There's just a lot of sober and safe gatherings to enjoy. And stay close to a sponsor, stay close to your people that are also uh, in recovery. And you end up having fun. Fun can be had. If anything, I have more fun now because I remember everything and I don't treat people poorly. You remember what you'd wake up and be like, oh my goodness, what did I do last night? What did I say?
Oh, it's the worst.
It, it, it really is.
Terrible. Shame, guilt, and remorse.
Yeah,
There it is.
it
Those.
is. And it can sneak up on you, especially this time of year. So it's really important to surround yourself with safe, sober people. Know that there are Alcathons and Soberthons going on all over. All you have to do is ask. People are going to know where they are when they start, and they usually go 24 hours, right? Don't they go
Mhm.
24 hours? And there is a whole ton of food and a lot of laughter and a lot of recovery and a lot of healing. And that is, at the end of the day, for me, that's what's helped me to start integrating these tools and feel like I am a whole, loving human being, is to be around other people that showed me that, right? Especially in the beginning, because I was lost. I didn't really quite know. I was in that hallway, right? I'd shut a door and I'd opened another, but I didn't quite know where I was at. And other people showed me the way. Yeah. So it's a beautiful time of year. It's one where we need to be super vigilant and still enjoy the season and the people that you love. And
And make beautiful memories for yourself. Make sweet memories. I always wanted to go to church on Christmas Eve and light the candles. I mean, I never got to do that because I was always at the in-laws' house. I mean, just I started to really open up to trying all kinds of different things. Last year, there was a really big light show out at Tyson's too, and it had these big dragons. It was like it had beautiful light animals everywhere. And so we went to that and walked around, and we rode little dinosaurs that lit up. I mean, of course, I'm doing this with my grandson. Okay, so I
Mm.
just want you to know he's my excuse. Otherwise, well, anyway,
Yeah, right.
I'm not doing it by myself out there. But just finding fun things to do, making a little bonfire and doing, some more,
Yeah.
just make the next thing to do after we've had this life of living unconsciously. Now we can live consciously and really make efforts to create the best memories, because our loved ones are going to remember us for this.
Yeah.
And this is what I don't want them to remember me for knocking the tree over, although they do and they laugh about it. But just like, let's have these good memories that we now build on every year. And so every year it's a choice that I make on how I want to celebrate. And I have a lot of good fun now with it, really do. And some of us are going on cruises and doing fun things like that over the holidays. I mean,
Mhm.
it's endless, right? What we can do,
Right.
because this is it. We're not a lot.
We're
You know,
not.
we are here to really live happily, joyously, and be free.
Right. And
No?
life is short. It truly is.
Yes.
So, yeah, I'm going out of town and I gave myself permission to do that and enjoy a new adventure during the Thanksgiving holiday. So, yeah, that's what it's a whole new world when we are able to give up the things that were not serving us and embrace the things that truly love us and we love in return. So thank you for joining us for this episode of Recovery, the Whole Enchilada, and have a safe and happy holiday. And next time we're going to be talking about wellness and meditation, Heather, for our next episode, which is also an important skill to have during this time of year. And we thank you for listening. Please do leave us your reviews. They mean a lot. Share the podcast with anyone that could definitely get a lift from our combined recovery, I guess, our message. We do love you, and we will see you next time. You are not alone, and just stay strong and keep growing.
Happy holidays.